Okay, good morning, everybody. This is John Shariffa here, founder of Unity Bands. It is Super Sunday, the moment we've all been waiting for. So thanks for dialing in on our Facebook page. I am here with our strategic advisor, Khalil Garriott. How are you, Khalil?
I'm doing well. How are you, John?
Awesome. Excited about this big day. So we've got the promotion for Unity Bands, and then we've got obviously the big game tonight.
It's exciting. I'm sure everybody's going to be tuning in, and we hope that you can pay equal attention to Unity Bands today because we have a really important mission and cause we want to get out there.
Absolutely. So before we get into kind of like the nuts and bolts, kind of like when I launched the mission video, I do want to take a moment to recognize like the gravity of the situation, right? So we talk about these bands all the time, but really what it comes down to is the significant number of people we've lost, since the pandemic began. So I could throw out numbers. I'm not going to do that, but suffice to say that, the numbers are staggering when it comes to U.S. fatalities and global fatalities, and just the ramifications of everything that's happened, the loss of life, the economic impact, the psychological impact. It just goes on, and we all want this to end. So I want to take a moment to recognize the folks we've lost, and to assure everybody there are a ton of people getting after this problem, but Unity Bands, we're trying to do our part.
Yeah, and I think, John, we would be remiss if we didn't take a moment of silence for all those who have been lost to this virus. So if we can just take a moment to remember everyone who's died as a result of COVID, let's do that. Thank you. John, if somebody's watching this video for the first time or might be new to Unity Bands and what it's all about, how would you describe kind of the genesis and how this nonprofit came about?
Yeah, so, it was March of 2020, and the government, the private sector, schools, everything started to get shut down. And, it was a very vivid point when I was driving on the highway, and the highway signs were like, stay at home, stop the spread, and nobody was on the road. And it was like, wow, this is something we've never seen before. And I knew like something like this needed to be done. Like, you see this Unity Bands image here, some kind of logo or symbol to bring people together. Because this wasn't a Maryland problem, this wasn't a US problem, this was a global problem. So, I didn't know a graphics designer in March 2020, but later in the year, I reached out to a friend who designed the logo, and sure enough, Unity Bands was born. So we said, okay, we're gonna sell these wristbands, and all the proceeds will go to COVID response and COVID research, so we can do our parts to help end this pandemic.
That's a great segue into my next question for you, which is the specific causes. Sometimes there are nonprofits that launch and have great intentions, but maybe are a little rudderless in terms of, okay, what cause is this trying to benefit? And Unity Bands is not that. So can you tell folks about the two specific causes that Unity Bands is benefiting?
Absolutely. So my answer is going to change as time goes on. Initially, we had Johns Hopkins University on the list, but right now, when it comes to Super Sunday, all proceeds are going to the University of Maryland Medical Center and the University of Maryland School of Medicine. So the Medical Center is covering the response side of the house, and the School of Medicine on the research side when it comes to like vaccine research. So those are our two key focus areas right now.
And, priority one for our nonprofit is really to sell Unity Bands. I mean, it's in the name. It's, banding together is what this movement is kind of all about. So can you tell folks about the bands themselves and how they can order them?
Absolutely. So the simple way is unitybands.org/order, and we'll put that link in the video here, but it's all over our Facebook page. That'll take you to our wristband resources site, But it's very simple to order. It's like anything you order online. You plug in the quantity of bands you want and your PayPal or credit card information, and they'll ship it directly to you. So that's the way to get after that.
And with any cause, I think it's important to have goals in mind, and what's the big picture of what you're trying to achieve. For those kind of new to the Unity Bands community, do you want to share the fundraising goal that you have in mind when this thing is all said and done?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we initially started this, my goal was $600 in donations. Why was that? Because in 2007, I wrote and sold a book, and I made about, I don't know, probably $600, right? So I was like, all right, what's the goal? Well, I can at least hit that because this is a good cause, right? And then we blew past 600 in like 2 weeks. So it was only natural to say, okay, we need to shoot for something bigger because we can have a bigger impact. So right now the goal is $10,000 in donations by June 30th, 2021.
I think one thing that's unique and pretty cool about Unity Bands is that it's not just these bands, although that is the priority to sell these and build morale that way. But there's also kind of a whole online store of other merch and other items people can purchase. Do you want to talk about the other Unity Bands merchandise that's available?
Yeah, and then I want to ask you a question, so I'm going to turn it on you for a minute. So in terms of the merchandise, if you go to unitybands.org, you'll see a button there for merch or the store, and you can get everything from long sleeve t-shirts to stickers to masks with the Unity Band logo on them. So that's the way you get to the store, and it's another great way to get the word out. It's a conversation starter. When people see the logo, they're like, what is that? Oh, it's Unity Bands, and they're getting after COVID response and research.
And what do you got for me, John?
So Khalil, like as we've gone through this thing so far, I was probably like 3 weeks into this, and I had initially texted you and a bunch of other guys, and I said, here's what I'm doing, and I didn't hear too much, but then I reached back out to you a couple weeks later directly, and I was like, what do I need to do to get some Unity Bands in your hands? And that's when you were like, I'm all in on this thing. So I'm just kind of curious, a part of me is like super appreciative that you're interested, but another part is like, I wonder how many other Khalils are out there that I haven't met yet that are going to be super interested in Unity Bands. So what was it? Like, what was the trigger that got you interested?
It's funny you ask. I mean, with a name like Khalil, I'm willing to bet, and I hope that I'm the only Khalil that you've been friends with or come across. But if John Sharippa said jump, I would say how high. And that might sound cheesy, but we're friends and we go back several years. And to me, when a friend reaches out asking for your help or support, or at least just lets you know something they're up to, a good friend would respond with the help that they need, or with ideas, or if it's dollars, with dollars. So when you reached out, I kind of went into the mode of first, like, information gathering, so I spent a lot of time on the site, checked out the various social platforms that you launched. And then once I, felt good about the cause and how I wanted to contribute, I just dove right in. I mean, I never expected to be appointed the Unity Band's strategic advisor. It just all started with a friend helping a friend. And I think that's something we can all relate to. And, I can't think of a time where support of each other means more than it does after last year and into this year, what we've seen, happen in the world. And, I kind of have been taking some personal inventory of my life and taking time to think about, all right, what's really important to me? Tomorrow is not promised, and that goes for all of us. And, it's about people, it's about relationships, family, friends, and that's why I decided to dive right in and help you out. And it's been great so far. I think we made some strides, and hopefully a lot of big goals to come that we'll be able to hit. But I just love that it's all about banding together, I love that it's people focused, and it's a really small way, perhaps in the grand scheme of things, to make a difference. And COVID has impacted the entire world. The entire world has been thinking about and dealing with the same thing for almost a year now, and that is insane. And I try to find little pockets of ways I can contribute to making things better, and Unity Bands is that for me.
Awesome, man. And as always, I appreciate you helping out. It's energizing. Like when people like you are like, I'm interested in helping. What can I do? It really kind of keeps me going. So now we have a special guest on the line, my cousin Danielle Kaysen. Danielle, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So Khalil, I'll turn things over to you for a minute.
Thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I'm Khalil Garriott, Unity Band's strategic advisor. And as mentioned, I'm here with Danielle Kaysen, who happens to be first cousin of Unity Band's founder, John Sharippa. Danielle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Khalil?
There she is. I'm doing well as well. Thanks for asking. So, Danielle, it seems like as, COVID has carried on now almost at a year in the U.S. And it seems like the more time that passes, the more it hits home for a lot of us. And I know you're included in that because you and your husband actually had COVID in late March 2020. And, as we all know, that was the first big wave in the States. I'm wondering, what was it like to go through that experience so early on as you reflect back on last year?
It was honestly, Khalil, a really confusing time because that was when, I'm a teacher. And so our schools had just shut down. And my husband is a fireman and works with upper management in retail. And we kind of had this understanding of we're probably going to get this thing because of his line of work. And so we really took the stance of being super precautious, not seeing anyone, even though he was in large crowds almost every day, because that was before they put precautions into the supermarket chains of like, people need to wait in line and come in only a few people at a time. It was chaos all the time. And even though he was wearing an N95 every day, we just thought we're probably just going to get this thing. So it was definitely confusing. It was a little scary just because all you heard about was how much we didn't know. And so it was kind of like, all right, I guess we just have to ride this wave of whatever it will be when and if we get it. And then very shortly after we did. So, yeah.
Can you take people behind the scenes in terms of treatment that you or your husband might have had, and how did that go, and how did you guys kind of cope both mentally and physically with having the virus?
So what happened was my husband just felt super fatigued and we weren't sure what it was. And because we actually chalked it up to because of all the stress of what he was working under. I mean, he was surrounded by people constantly in retail and people in a state of panic. So him coming home and being super exhausted just kind of seemed like he's just stressed out from work. So he decided to stay home. And it was actually me that 2 days after that, I developed what felt like a flu. And John and I have an uncle that we're very close with who's a doctor. And so I called him and he said, just stay home. It sounds like the flu. Let's see if it changes into anything else. And then 2 days later, those flu-like symptoms were gone and I felt completely different. And while I know I was sick, it was different than anything I'd ever felt before. It almost felt like I'd been poisoned. It was like, I went trekking through Tibet many years ago, like at a high altitude, at like 20,000 feet. And that's what it felt like. It felt like I had brain fog. It felt like, super, super fatigued. Almost like a really bad hangover. It's hard to explain what it was, but I definitely just didn't feel like myself at all. And then I lost my sense of smell and taste. And so that's when I called my uncle, the doctor, and said, okay, this is what's going on. He said, okay, yeah, so it's not a flu. It's you have the coronavirus. And he said, it's not necessary for you to go to the hospital, because he had me take some respiratory tests. Like he had me hold my breath and do these certain things and I didn't have anything respiratory. My husband had the same symptoms I did, except he had a minor cough, and his cough, like when he's had colds in the past, were much worse than what he had going on. But because he's a first responder as a fireman, he had to get tested. And so basically what he did was they had a doctor contact him over the phone, and they went over his symptoms. And then he had to go to a drive-through where he described it looked like people in spacesuits who shoved a large Q-tip all the way, quoting him, into his brain. But like, it was very uncomfortable. He came home more traumatized than from having the coronavirus. And eventually his test came back positive, but that feeling of fatigue, brain fog, like altitude sickness feeling, that lasted it lasted me about 4 or 5 weeks. So I didn't feel, again, there was nothing respiratory. I had a low grade fever, and it like, 99.8 for about 5 days. I got my sense of smell and taste back in 5 days. He got his back in 10, but again, we didn't have anything respiratory or anything like that. So that was the extent of our medical care. And so for him, he never had to go back and get a negative test because that was so early on. Those policies were not in place. Those procedures were not in place yet. It was pretty much like, okay, if you don't feel any symptoms and then 48 hours from that, you're fine. And that was when he went back to work. He got the clearance and whatever, but almost everything was done over the phone, minus him getting his test. So
that is quite a journey that you guys both had, and how long it lasted. That's surprising to me. That being said, if somebody watches this video who either recently contracted COVID-19 or God forbid, of course, we don't want anybody new to get it, but if somebody does contract the virus, do you have any advice based on what you learned during that process that you could share with them?
I mean, just try to stay calm and don't get freaked out by how long it might take you to heal, because that was something that concerned me, just because, like, I don't know, anytime I've ever been sick in my life, it's never been, I mean, not even half that time. Like the longest, period I've ever been sick is a week, maybe a week and a half, if you have a bad flu. So that was kind of concerning for me. You get to a point after 2 weeks of questioning, am I going to feel sick the rest of my life? Because you're almost like, is this just how I'm going to feel forever? And then the brain fog kind of leaves, and then the fatigue is still there. And then you start to question, is this, am I going to feel like this forever? Because, you don't know. So what I would just say is just try to be calm. And I'm also a yoga teacher. So I always tell people, take deep breaths if you can, maybe do some guided meditations, and just, try to stay positive, because things taking a really long time is, unfortunately, it can be very normal with this virus.
Let's shift to unitybands, which was, founded by your cousin, John, and still kind of in its infancy. It's only, it was birthed probably, a month and change ago, but we're really trying to make some noise. And, I have my decal here that you probably can't see it with the virtual background. But it's got unity in the middle. And so I wonder, what does that word unity mean to you, Danielle?
I mean, it means one, right? Like, we're all human. We're all, in a lot of ways, I won't get political, but, our country is very divided on a lot of issues and a lot of everything. And so I'm really proud of John and really proud of what he's a part of and what he's creating, because I think it's really important, not just through this virus, but just as a whole. And so unity to me just means, we're all one. And I think we need to approach any situation and each other with, compassion and unconditional love. So that's what it means to me.
With that, Danielle, I want to give you the last word. If there's anything you'd like to add about, your experience with the virus or unitybands, or just kind of a good thought to leave people with, the floor is yours for a parting thought. I
mean, I think in a time like this, we have, in a situation that is completely almost out of our control all the time, I think people in general want to help, right? And how can they help with something that they know very little or nothing about, right? And so these bands, which are so inexpensive, and it's for such a good cause, I feel like something that's small and contributing in that way can help in such a big way. So, I mean, unity bands.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your story. This has been Khalil Garrett with Danielle Kaysen and John Sharippa with Unity Bands. Thanks everybody for watching, and Danielle, appreciate your time sharing your story.
Thanks so much.
So let's do this. Let me talk about the lineup for Super Sunday, because this is the kickoff show. So obviously, you know, football themed with the big game coming up. Every hour we're going to upload a video to the Facebook page. And so we have an interview scheduled with at least one interview scheduled with an athlete, you know, Hall of Famer. So we'll get to that in a couple hours. We have a halftime show scheduled with Sly 45, which is a killer rock band coming out of Washington, D.C. So I've seen them a couple times in concert. They're doing virtual shows these days. So if you go to their Facebook page, Sly 45, you can check out their videos. So we're super excited because Khalil, like you, I mean, they heard about this opportunity and they were like 110% all in. How do we do that? And that's a breath of fresh air, you know, because you reach out to a couple people, and some people want to send you through like the bureaucratic process, right? Or you know, you don't hear back from some people. These guys were like, "Yep, what do we need to do?" So we appreciate them for the halftime show, and every hour we'll try to set some goals to keep people energized. So hopefully those watching will continue to come back to the Facebook page every hour to check out the new video. So I think it's only natural, like let's set a goal for the first hour. We can keep something modest. So let's say, you know, we want the Unity Bands community to come together. Let's sell 20 bands in this first hour. Okay, something reasonable.
We can do that.
Yeah, well, if you order online, feel free to drop us a note. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at unitybands.org, and just let us know. Hey, I just bought 5 bands. I just bought 50 bands. And then, you know, I'm confident today we'll put a big dent in the gap between where we are and the $10,000 goal. So it's going to be an exciting day. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, the surprises and the interviews and the performances that are planned are just going to be really cool. And, you know, it's, again, like I said before, it's about contributing to something that's greater than all of us, to something that's just truly affecting the world. And we can all play a part in that. So that's inspiring, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Sounds good, man. Any parting thoughts?
Well, you are the founder of Unity Bands. I think I'll give you the floor to have the last word. All
right, sounds good. No, I just appreciate everybody's support. Like I said earlier, you know, it's all about you know, helping the frontline workers and helping those doing the vaccine research. This is why we do what we do. So you know, today, encourage everyone, buy some bands, buy some merch, and check back with the Facebook videos. So you know, I can just wrap up with the ethos of Unity Bands, which is hope, fight, unity.
Unity Bands. Thank you, John.
All right. Thanks, Khalil.